Hi everyone, and welcome to Crypto Mundial. We have a big video for you today. We're going to cover the news, so let's get right to it. Um, First up is the FOMC meeting. It happened yesterday. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick recap. I have a very detailed report. You could check it out in our YouTube channel. But basically, there was two main outcomes from the FOMC meeting. One, there was no raise, but rather a skip, which Jerome Powell said. But more importantly than the skip was the fact that in the SEP report, the fund rate is now 5.6% instead of the 5.1% that was shown previously, right? So this kind of indicates that they're trying to signal that there might be two more rate hikes coming before the end of the year. But more importantly, they definitely are signaling that there is no rate cuts coming, right? If you take a look at Bitcoin, there was a pretty big impact with regards to the FOMC meeting yesterday, right? So just this was it right here, right? So you can see this impact that we're seeing here, that was because of the FOMC meeting and the fact that Jerome Powell remains pretty hawkish moving forward, right? Now, whether that's true or maybe they just wanted to cool off the markets remains to be seen, right? So, but we'll watch that space. Something else that was in the news today is the USDT, right? I want to call it USDT FUD, right? So whenever markets are very volatile, once in a while you get the stablecoin FUD. Today was USDT FUD. It looks like in Curve Pool, right? Their pool, it's called the 3 pool. USDT, they have three stable coins, right? They have the USDT, USD coin, and USDC. So it looks like there were some major whales that were selling their USDT, which increased the USDT within this pool, right? And that caused a slight, I'm not going to call it a depeg, because to be a depeg, that means you cannot redeem USDT for one-to-one, and no point was that the case, but there was a slight shift in the USDT valuation, right? Let's take a quick look at that. All right, so this is when the FUD was happening here. As you can see here, so there was a bit of a decrease, right? This should stay mostly pegged at 1, right? So the value was slightly depegged here, right? But really the depeg is if you cannot redeem your USDT for one-to-one, right? So that never happened at any point, right? But if you take a look at this chart here, let me bring out the weekly, so you can see, there's been two major events in the USDT history, right, where they have decreased quite a bit from the one-to-one peg in the charts, right? This here, if you could recall, this is around May of 2022, and that's the infamous, I should say, lunar collapse, right? So that was that, and then this moment here, November 2022, that's the infamous FTX scam that was uncovered, right? So these two major events, if you look at that here, nothing much happened today. There was a small blip. It's recovering pretty nicely, right? So, and if we could see this is a tweet from the CTO of Tether, right? So he first tweeted out. Let me see if I can find it here for you guys. He first tweeted out. Well, actually, it's probably here. He first tweeted out this, right? Tether FUD, right? So what does this mean? Like there's always some FUD that happens around this time, volatility, and crypto Twitter is quick to like just repost and add to the FUD, right? Around Tether not being a one-to-one with the dollar, right? So that's his tweet there, just in response. And he also gave a more detailed response here. He actually said this is good for Tether, right? To help stress it a little bit and help show that they are backed and they're ready, and people want to cash out their Tether for dollars, then it's always going to become available, right? So I appreciated that from him. I'll give him a like. All right. Let's give him a like. Okay. And then something else that was interesting, this is from Miles over here. He kind of noted that every time there's a lot of FUD, especially around Tether or around USDC or any kind of stable coins, that usually indicates somewhat of a local bottom, right? So this was kind of interesting here how he pointed out this FUD that was happening here with Tether, with hedge funds, another FUD here, right, with regards to Tether, and then this one was with USDC, right? So it indicates kind of like local bottoms, if you will, with that. So something to keep in mind. BlackRock. So what's going on with BlackRock? Well, sources say that they're close to filing for a Bitcoin ETF. This is big news, and I take this mostly bullish. Now, BlackRock is the world's biggest asset manager, right? So I'm a little hesitant because, being so big, this means like if they do get approved, they're just gonna be sucking up a lot of Bitcoin, and it's gonna make it harder for the regular retail person to start getting a hold of Bitcoin, right? But it is positive. We do want this kind of engagement, right? So remains to be seen if this is a Bitcoin ETF, a spot Bitcoin ETF, or a futures Bitcoin ETF, right? So we do have a couple of futures Bitcoin ETFs that's been approved, but we don't have any spot Bitcoin ETFs approved, right? So I don't know if you guys recall, but the U.S. has rejected. They rejected this ARC21 share. They rejected quite a few of these proposals, right, for spot Bitcoin ETF, right? The biggest one is this one with Grayscale, right? So let's watch the space. Let's see what happens here, right? But pretty surprising that BlackRock has filed for a Bitcoin ETF. So let's see. In other news, Hong Kong. So Asia is really going in deep with cryptocurrencies, right? So the US is pushing back on cryptocurrencies, but as the US pushes back on cryptocurrencies, Asia, you can see a real transformation here happening, right? So Hong Kong has reiterated to their banks, hey, be supportive of cryptocurrencies, right? So make sure you accept cryptocurrencies, you accept your customers in transactioning with cryptocurrencies, right? So this is pretty big news, especially since we know that China has a big say in what Hong Kong does, right? So if you recall, about a year ago, right, this was the big news, right? China banished cryptocurrencies, everything, cryptocurrency trading, mining, everything. But it seems that, China is kind of warming up to cryptocurrencies now, and it's actually allowing Hong Kong to move forward with this. Hong Kong wants to be a big player in the cryptocurrency space, right? So I think this is very positive. All right, with regards to technical analysis, I don't think there's anyone much better than Eric Crown, right? So Eric Crown put a line in the sand today. He said, hey, Bitcoin at 24,800, if it breaks down below 24,800, then that's probably pretty bearish and more downside to come. If it bounces from that, then maybe, us Bitcoin bulls, there's some hope in there, right? So let's take a quick look. Let me give them a quick like. Let's take a quick look, see where we are with Bitcoin right now. All right, I'll take this at the hourly. All right, so look, this is where he mentioned 24,800. Looks like we did have a nice little bounce here. It bounced up today. It's going back down, right? So maybe we'll range in these lows here, but maybe we could hold steady and not break below this level. I think that'll be positive for Bitcoin moving forward, right? So, okay. All right. True inflation. So we saw these news, and we saw that we should share this out. So we have CPI reports, we have PPI reports. Again, we have analysis for those in our channel, so take a look at that. But here the true inflation is coming in at 2.34%. Now, true inflation is more forward-looking. The CPI, PPI, they have a lot of lagging indicators. True inflation claims to be more accurate. So this number is pretty great, I think, compared to the 4% that we've been seeing, right? 2% is where the Fed wants to be. So, and look at this trend here, right? From 12%, it's been steadily decreasing, right? So I think that's great news for us here in the USA. In the UK, however, not so great. I mean, they've been going down as well, but they're at a 12.95% interest rate right now from a true inflation perspective, right? So that's pretty high there. So, and they've recorded an 8.7, so it's kind of reversed, right? So they're recording an 8.7%, but true inflation is showing it higher than what the government is reporting, right? It's kind of it's backwards here, right? So it's higher than what they're saying, but in the U.S. they're saying that the government is reporting 4%, which is high compared to what the true inflation is in their perspective, right? 2.34. So pretty interesting. Keep that in mind. That's good news, right? We want to see inflation going down. We want interest rates to go down. That'll help take pressure off risk assets. Bitcoin dominance, right? So I put this out in our Twitter. Follow us in twitter.com, Crypto Mundial. I put this out, somewhat of a shout out to Benjamin Cohen, right, from Into the Cryptoverse. He's really big on the Bitcoin dominance, and I did point out that, hey, we're getting close to, we're creeping up. We're at 49.29. Let's take a look to see where we are now. The tweet was 49.29, but I'm not sure if it's changed quite a bit. Let's take a look. All right. So look at this. Interesting, right? So we had a little bit up and down here. So right now we're still almost the same, 49.23, 0.32, right? But what we want to pay attention to here, right? It's if you take a look at this weekly here, right? What Benjamin has been saying is, in order for us to either ever enter into a bull market, what he anticipates seeing is this Bitcoin dominance shooting up to almost 60%, right? Shooting up doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going to go up. It just means that Bitcoin relative to everything else is going to go up. Bitcoin could go down, but the dominance between Bitcoin and stable coins, he sees that Bitcoin going up to 60% and then slowly trickling down, right? So to enter a bull market, that's what he anticipates, right? So we're watching this carefully. He cut a lot of slack, right? Bitcoin dominance. He's been waiting for this, right? So credit to him, right? So we're back up to the range highs. It looks like we broke a little bit off of that. So let's monitor this and let's see, how Bitcoin reacts. Okay. The other news that we have is, we had the FOMC meeting yesterday. Fed decided to pause interest rate hikes, right? So there was no hikes. But in Europe, they did hike today, right? So they hiked their interest rates another 25 basis points. So now they're at 3.5%, right? And this is it's lower than what we have in the US, but this is the highest that has been in 22 years for Europe, right? So there's something to keep in mind there, right? So, all right. Here we go. Our friend Plan B. Let's give him a like, man. If you recall Plan B, he was orchestrated the initial graphs that show Bitcoin, I think last year before we entered the bear market, or 2 years ago, claiming we would go up to 100,000 and beyond, 100,000 for Bitcoin, $100,000 per Bitcoin, right? And he got a lot of traction because he was correct in a lot of the predictions leading up to that. Unfortunately, at the end, caught all of us by surprise, right? So, but this graph is pretty interesting here, right? So he's showing, just to give you a little bit of detail of this graph, all these dots here represent a month, right? And it's color coded as we get closer to the halving. It goes from red after the halving, and it goes all the way to dark blue. Dark blue signifies 0 months, meaning 0 months to the halving. So that's when the halving actually occurs, right? So as you can see here, we've been transitioning from the dark green into the very light blue, right? So we're in this area here around 10 months or so for the halving to occur, right? And what he's saying here is that this is looking very similar to him, similar to this period here, 2015, 2016, right? Where you see us hugging this 200-week moving average, right? We were hugging it, and then once we started turning blue, we started, increasing and getting ready for the halving, and the dark red the halving, and then we had the bull run, right? So he's saying he's seeing a lot of similarities here. So we're in light blue. So let's watch this space. Let's see what happens next month. Let's see if we start trending up, right? Okay. Let's give them a like. All right, great. And this is just something I put. Bitcoin's been going up a little bit today after that tough day that we had yesterday, right? So I just put this little meme here, right? It's just 1%, so everybody gets real excited, right? But let's be patient. Let's see where Bitcoin is, right? And let's just take a quick look where we are right now before we close off this video. BTC, USDT. All right, let's just take a look at the hourly to see where we are. So if you take a look here, okay, yeah, so we did have a little bit of a run up, right? We were still here above, like we said, the 24,800, and we're ranging here, right? So, but as you remember, we are well below our bull market support band. So let's take a look. We're going to take a look on Wednesday. I mean, on Wednesday. We'll take a look on Sunday when the week closes just to see where we land. But we are significantly below the bull market support band, right? So I think that's it. I'm gonna close off here for the video. Thanks for joining us. You want to see the video in Spanish? We're gonna have Alfredo come in. He's gonna do a video for us in Spanish here, just to go over all these details as well. Take a look at our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and to like. Okay, thanks. Bye.